Hey, this is Tom, Negotiating with Jesus. Today we're just going to continue to talk about stories. So I'm aiming at Chad and Neal and preparing to have a good talk there. And in some ways I want to have this accomplishment. And every time I've had one of my talks with, like I've done 2 talks with Paul, it hasn't been, you want your story to be that you achieve some great goal. And the great goal was just talking. The talk was okay, and I loved it, but I have to live within this story where it's just kind of steady. So it wasn't, it was just a couple guys talking. So I have to live with that. That's the story. So I'm going to talk with Chad and Neal. And I'm preparing the idea of stories. So the couple things I thought about. One of the stories, well, the main thing is that story, Peterson grasped this idea that we live within the story. And I thought about 2 things. The elevator. So he's got a client that has a fear of going into an elevator. And then he explains that the way the psychological, the therapeutic help is to get the person into an elevator. So we look at it and the story's dumb. It doesn't make sense. And he looks at it and he says, no, the story lays out a certain way. And it would be the symbolic way that the elevator is a dragon. So approaching the dragon is a whole ordeal. Getting anywhere near the vicinity of a dragon. So the person has to just keep sneaking up to that dragon until one day, sword through the eye, and the dragon is slayed. So, and one of the things Peterson says is that story, you're going to say it's fiction, it's false, it's not true. And Peterson's going to say, well, it's kind of true. It might be truer than the true things we think are true. So, understanding truth. And I want to get to Neal talking about the truth of art. That's going to be my other topic, is art. Because I suspect we think we know it's true. And it is true because every atheistic argument is holding truth and saying you can't say the elevator is a dragon. That's not true. You can't say the stories in the Bible are true. No one rises from the dead. You have this idea of what is true, and it's the great argument of Pontius Pilate. What is truth? Are you kidding me? Jesus, you know some kind of truth? You're a king? Yeah. Anyone who follows him follows the truth. So, an elevator is a dragon. The second thing is, so scripture all the time, Jesus is saying things that sound right, sort of. You must be like a child to enter the kingdom of heaven. Well, and then Nicodemus, what am I supposed to, you must be born again. What am I supposed to climb back in my mother's womb? Nicodemus, I'm 50 years old, Jesus. Why do you say such dumb things, Jesus? So, the story. So I thought about children. So I thought about elevators and children this morning. So children, why should you be like a child? It would be, should you be naive? Should you come with very little skills? Should you be optimistic? And that naivete. So I thought about children and their story. So a child is looking around at the world and has no idea what their story is. And I think we are exactly like that. We have no idea what our story is. So a child is looking around and thinking, what is the story here? What in the world? They pop into the world and they have no idea what's going on. They have a caregiver who's like a goddess, this mother that comes and cares for them and hopefully cares well. And every time they have some terrible struggle, because it's daily, it's hourly, they're fed, and then, they're in heaven, and then all of a sudden they go in their pants and they're in hell. Yeah, nobody likes a poopy diaper. And that's the great task when I was a new parent. And I am so dumb. I just do whatever's before me and act like. And it's not that I'm smart or brilliant or dedicated or see truth. It's that I'm like my mom. I chase butterflies. I seem to enjoy too much. And it's why I haven't got good at anything, because I enjoy everything too much and have never felt like that I was missing one thing that I pursued with such great diligence. I'm watching this Mike Tyson, and the dude, he's going to fight whatever that brother, those dudes. I just watched some videos about that dude too. Jake Paul. And of course, you're looking at this 57-year-old Tyson, and he is terrifying. You can watch this 57-year-old do some I don't remember what they call his practice. So he's boxing with this trainer. He's training, and he is just a beast. So I want Jake Paul, this young punk, to just be beat senseless. And that's terrible of me as a caring human. I'd like him to beat the snot out of Jake Paul. Because it would be some story. It would be a great story. It would be some, what is the story of the world? So a child. I went on these rabbit trails, and that's all I do, ever. That's all I ever do. So I'm just this average guy because I like everything too much. My mom and my dad, to a degree, are. So I'm them. I'm a seed planted by two people. Come into my own. This is my time. YouTube, don't you deny me my time. Okay, let's get back to a child. So a child is looking around, knows nothing of what's going on, but starts gathering information and sees people walking around, and says to himself, I'm going to make the child a boy, because it's just a story. And is it a true story? Well, I'm making it up. It's not a true story. Or is it? Is it the truest story that there is? The child starts seeing that everyone's walking. Whatever they're doing, they're upright. They're hairless apes. So he's evolving. I'm a hairless ape. And apes, these hairless apes are standing. They're walking. Yeah, I was involving evolution. Forget that dumb part. The child, the baby, sees people moving around. It's like, I seem to be able to move. He rolls over. And that's one of the accomplishments. I'm following one of my former students from youth group, because I was trying to get children, teenagers, to follow Jesus. Yeah, that was my job. She's got a little one, and she is so delighted with her little boy. It's so beautiful. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. Women, please allow us to see the most beautiful thing that you can do. It's so sweet and so wonderful. Her child rolls over. Her child's walking, and she posts pictures, because that's the age we live in. The child looked around and said, moving? I got to sit up. I got to roll. I'm supposed to do something. And all I've been doing lately is just laying on my back, kicking my arms and my legs. I got to get going. And he starts getting going. And he thinks walking is part of my story. Walking seems like it's part of the story. And then suddenly he's walking. And my point here is just, he doesn't do it well. He can't do it at all. The walking is the dragon. He can't walk, but he's not afraid of walking. He just can't do it. And he tries for weeks. For weeks he's trying. And he takes a step. And his parents are like, it's the greatest accomplishment in all of human history. In all of his history, it's the greatest accomplishment in all of his history. And it's recognized because all of a sudden, when you're a child, your story is recognized as a simple story. We get older and we become zombies. We can't recognize anything. And that's this Grimm thing that is so interesting. I was watching the video with Chad and Grimm and these two other people, a woman, and she was kind of puzzled about Grimm. But he keeps saying things that are so weird and true. Remember, embody, whatever. There was a couple things. But so the kid all of a sudden is walking. And the kid, as he's walking, finds out that stories are way different than what he thought. Now he's an explorer. Now the story, and this is G.K. Chesterton. Chesterton said, as you age, your story has to be more complex. So it has to be, you have to travel to a distant land to slay a dragon because there's gold and a princess. And it gets to have these layers. And adults have to have a lot more for the mind control to take. You have to trick them a lot harder. A child, as you go back, Chesterton says, there's a child who, the story of Hansel and Gretel, they step out of their house and into the woods. So the story's still more complex. Then you go back into Cat in the Hat, and they have to let a cat into the house. And you go back a little farther. What Chesterton is getting at is, as the child grows younger, the story is, there's a door. What's on the other side of that door? And it's a very tiny story. What's beyond the door? So the child is at that stage. He's walking. He's like, well, now where does this lead? Up the steps? Through that door? Onto the kitchen table? And then he says, the first story we see is a child who sees a door. And it's just a child and a door. So there's a story. And it's a true story. And the child walking is part of a story. And you don't want just walking. The last thing I was thinking about was walking. Why is it that we do this great accomplishment and we're walking, but nobody cares? Everybody's walking. You don't want to be the greatest walker. Everybody walks. And I thought, well, somebody wants to be the greatest walker. They want to walk all the way from the tip of South America all the way up to the tip of North America or something. Or they want to walk in a race. They want to be the fastest walker there ever was. In walking, then you have to define in these very specific rules. Because why don't I want to be great at something? Or why do we start judging? Anyway, I started thinking about walking and why everybody is an average walker. Everybody is average. And that gets back to me trying to figure out what my deal is as just an average walker, an average guitar player, an average this little corner YouTuber. I'm subpar at this point. And listen, if you view this and get all the way to here, you're a champion. You are the champion of this story. And yeah, that's it for now. So this is Tom out.